It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Wise here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders like the founders of P90X, Atari, and many more, and how they overcome big challenges in life and business. This is part of the e-commerce mastery series where top sellers and experts teach you what really works to boost your business. Our sponsor today is Rise25.com, not related to Rise Bar, but Rise25.com, where entrepreneurs of 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses come together live and in person every few months to solve their biggest business challenges and leave with lifelong friendships. Check out Rise25.com. It's run by myself and John Corcoran. It's application only. Today we have Pete Spenuzza, founder of Rise Bar. Now, after acquiring a small operation in San Diego, Pete turned around the health snack company. Rise Bar can be found in select Whole Foods, Sprouts Farmers Market, Vitamin Shop, and many more online and offline channels. Their facility is entirely free of wheat, cane sugar, GMOs, meat, eggs, and peanuts, ensuring the products are gluten-free and soy-free. Pete, thanks for joining me.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Jeremy. Great to be here.
Who are the key people or positions you found that you need to put in place through over the past 5 years that you said you developed this Rockstar team?
The first few years, as any entrepreneur, you're doing everything. You're burning the candle at both ends. You're getting really strapped. You think you can do everything, and you can to get from point A to point B. But I realized I was more of the kind of the classic entrepreneur, trying to think about what's the next big idea, kind of the visionary role, and realizing that I quite honestly sucked at the operations side of things, kind of the day-to-day, and just knowing I needed just this grinder, day-to-day business driver, just this classic operator who understood how to put it all together and execute and implement. I love ideas. I love thinking big picture. But when I get into the nitty-gritty details, that's kind of where
You're kind of classic visionary type of person that I don't want to worry about the details, but give me the big vision.
And I'm not that good at that. I wanted someone who not only is great at that, but loves those details, and they know how to put a perfect plan together and then execute. Yeah.
So I want you to compare something, Pete. Talk about the early day. Like you said, you're doing everything, right? So talk about a typical day in the beginning on all the things you're doing, and then I want to compare it to now. So what was it like in the beginning? Take me back to one of those crazy long days.
Just trying to stay alive. I think like any entrepreneur, the first 12 months scare the heck out of you. And there's no sense of structure to the day. That was my biggest downside. I would just spend a little time on, sales, a little bit of time in marketing. Okay, let's make sure the manufacturing looks okay, spending time out in the factory. Do we have enough cash in the bank? And it's just this very just split personality where you're doing too many things, kind of a jack of all trades. So there was no sense of structure to my day. It was 100% reactionary, and which can tire you out extremely quickly. And that was like the first 3 years were like that, just being pulled in 100 different directions.
So what kind of hours during those first 3 years? Just to give people an idea, what were you keeping? Like what time you're getting and then stopping work? And was this like 7 days a week, 6 days a week?
First one there, last one to leave. And as much as I now completely don't believe in that approach, I think for the first year or two, it does set a good example. You are the pace horse. So some days, like most of the time, up at 7, and I remember looking back through old emails, like I was answering email at 1, 2 in the morning, which is ridiculous because it's this vicious cycle you get into, and then you're more tired, you're more reactive. So the hours were crap, and I was always doing email on weekends, always responding on weekends, and then on top of that, we would do a lot of events. We were passing out, doing a lot of sampling, so not only covering the booth during the weekends, but just grinding during the weekdays. And it's a recipe for disaster, recipe for burnout. And as being like a sole founder, it was an incredibly lonely road.
So what did you end up, the initial team of 6 that you had, what happened? So you kind of cleaned house a little bit. What was the core group in the very beginning after you kind of hired your own staff, I guess you could say?
Finding a good salesperson. So although like I think every single entrepreneur needs to do sales for the first couple of years, it's such an important skill set. You need to see what it's like on the front lines, how to present to your potential customer, how to get a few punches in the face, how to respond.
Right.
But realizing that there's salespeople who are out there who are quite frankly better than I am, which is a huge realization that you can't be the best at every single role. You can be the big picture person that wants to take it to the next level, but you need people in certain functions. So there, I had a marketing manager who was she was so awesome at just evangelizing the product at the street level, being able to evangelize to consumers, and then having someone good, kind of a production manager, making sure the facility was in tip-top shape. So when the FDA would visit, when organic certifiers would visit, gluten-free certifiers, kosher rabbis would visit, that everything was just in tip-top shape. So those are kind of the three key roles that we had.
Yeah. And so now, compared to the beginning, you said it wasn't structured, you're doing everything, which is expected. What does it look like now?
In terms of the company now, it's bigger. I would say that the roles are essentially the same with different people at a higher skill level. And I looking back, making the wrong hires, just for anyone listening, it's going to cost you easily over 6 figures if you hire the wrong people. And so now what I've just found is I can safely say the team that we have in place is the team that can take us past 20 million. But it took me a lot of different trial and error, and some people who are great at getting you to the first 1 or 2 million. Some people might be great at getting you to 5 and beyond. If you can keep the same team as some entrepreneurs have, then even better. Yeah. But really, it's essentially the same roles, same type of managers, just people with a higher skill set.
I mean, you made a conscious choice to bring on a high-level executive team, right?
I have a VP of operations and a VP of sales and marketing, and yeah, they've done this once, twice, sometimes 3 times before, so they know how to scale businesses. Yeah.
So what brought you that decision? That's a big decision, right? I mean, you're paying big salaries too, and tell me about that.
Yeah, and this is kind of where sometimes I differ with some of my entrepreneurial buddies. Yeah. They love finding the diamonds in the rough. I think where I came to is I said, you know what, if I really want to grow this to the next level, and more importantly as an entrepreneur, you start a business that you're passionate about, but realistically you start it because you imagine yourself being able to kind of work from home, take some vacations, spend time with family. And I said, if I want to get to that point where I'm focusing on the stuff that I really love to do that's of high value to the business, I need to find rock stars that are going to manage these other areas and do this twice as good as I can. Yeah. And that's what I came to the realization last summer. I said, I've been at this for 4 years, and to really grow and double and triple our revenue and scale, I need to hire people who've done this in their sleep before. And although you bite the bullet with a bigger salary, it's not as bad as you think. If you're paying someone $5,000 or $6,000 a month and you want to go to $10,000 or $11,000 a month, you're only looking at like 5 or 6 months of like you have to bite the bullet, and great people start to pay for themselves. So it's just tighten the belt for a little bit. But by and large, like the ROI is going to be there within 6 months.
Yeah, but initially pulling the trigger is not an easy decision,
Not at all. Yeah. No, not at all. I mean, you're watching every single penny going in and out of the business.
So talk about distribution, Pete. How did you get into you're in some really big places, Whole Foods, Vitamin Shop. How did you get into those?
I realized early on that a lot of these bigger retailers, you can have this incredible story and a really good background, but ultimately a lot of the relationships are going to lead you to retailers. And so we went out and hired a third-party natural foods broker that just had much better relations. You talk about people who are much better at what they do. They knew a lot of these retailers, and although you kind of have to pay a small commission to get in the door, otherwise I was just going to keep banging my head trying to get into these retailers who they didn't know who we were. And you could have the best story in the world, but ultimately you still need that connection. And that's kind of what helped us get into the door. Although Vitamin Shop was really cool, that was more of a grassroots thing.
Yeah, talk about that.
They had heard about us at events through social media. We were able to kind of get a foot in the door there, and heard us through kind of word of mouth and brand awareness, which was really cool.
What's worked for grassroots efforts? Like you said, events. Have events been really big?
Events are great.
Yeah.
You can only do this in so many regions, but you look at kind of our sales distribution, and we're really strong in California because that's where that's where we're located. That's where we've been able to do a lot of our events.
Yeah.
And then in-store demonstrations. So primarily Whole Foods, Sprouts, really people being able to get the bar in their mouth, and it's usually 2 or 3 times of repeat trial before it kind of gets hammered in their head. But yeah, it's no secret. You got to give away some free product and really put the bar in someone's mouth.
So, Pete, what's the advantage and disadvantage of getting into a Whole Foods or a Sprouts?
For the bigger account, and this is what I encourage everyone, is you have to take a look at the economics of the accounts you're getting into, look at kind of the gross margins, make sure that you're not giving away the farm just for top line revenue. And I think oftentimes we struggle with that because it seems very sexy to say, oh, I got into
For sure.
like a Trader Joe's type account, or I got into Kroger or Safeway with 1,000 stores. You look at a lot of companies and they get a lot of distribution really quickly, and then just as quickly they hit cash and that's it. They tank afterwards.
Right.
So just making sure you think long and hard, really try to run the numbers and make sure that it makes financial sense for your business.
Yeah.
And so we've been doing that with every account, and that's why we've been able to be cash flow positive a lot more often recently, because we're making sure that we're taking a very close look at the margins and the economics of accounts we're getting into.
So let's talk about the products, right? So what's the best sellers? What are your personal favorites?
Really, what built the company was our number one seller. It's our almond honey bar, and just the sheer simplicity. That's what our company's founded on. All the high protein bars that we have are 5 ingredients or less, which is unheard of in high protein bars. Just simplicity is what founded us, and that's kind of what our top 2 sellers, just 3 and 4 ingredients each. And we were finding that more and more consumers, as the trend is towards transparency in what you're eating, clean label, meaning just very minimal type ingredients, whole food based ingredients. The consumers, the market, that's what they're asking for, and that's what's really taken off for us. It's our almond honey bar and all of our high protein bars just having 5 ingredients or fewer. Simplicity.
Yeah. So Pete, what's your process for coming out with new products?
It's really fun. We have about 8 guys in production, and so we always give parameters. We want to make sure we have a really rich, delicious nut butter base, whether it's like an almond butter, cashew butter, macadamia butter. We combine it with a natural sweetener, with honey, coconut nectar, yacon syrup. These are all like very low glycemic natural sweeteners, and then we kind of bind it all together with a high protein, whether it's a whey isolate or a pea isolate. And we let the guys run wild in production, and they'll blend different spices, cinnamon, cayenne, different extracts like vanilla, all kind of whole food based ingredients. And it takes them, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 tries. We all try it together in small batches, and we kind of vote on what we like the best. And typically the process from starting to iterate and design and ideate what the bars are going to be to actually launching it, I mean, it's a minimum of typically 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Because we have to trial, we have to see how the bars are going to taste 2 or 3 months from then, try it again. But it's a fun process. I mean, we love doing that. And the guys in the kitchen have done an incredible job at helping us launch new flavors.
So people, what was one that you were, it got voted as we need to launch this, but you weren't so sure about that did well with the customers?
I think we've been lucky there. We have a pretty unanimous. I mean, we're all on the same page. When guys in the kitchen love something, and we know we're very likely going to launch it. Same thing with the office. I don't think we've had. So
you usually like everyone. It's a unanimous thing. It's not like everyone likes it. And you're like, I don't really like that crunchy perfect pumpkin breakfast bar, and then it does really well.
I would never ever launch something that I didn't think there was close to unanimous vote in the office. It's just that you're shooting yourself in the foot. And I've tasted it, as I'm sure you have, some foods. You go to a natural food store and you try it and you're like, I don't know how the heck this business is going to survive. Who approved this certain flavor, this combination? I can say those. That's why we have a very small assortment. It's because we all love those flavors.
What's the latest one that you've launched?
We're working on one that's going to be with more grass-fed whey protein isolate, and it's a bit of a mint chocolate combination. But really, mint chocolate is very, very common. No one's done it with 5 ingredients or fewer. No one's done it with kind of grass-fed whey isolate before, and so we're hoping to launch that one in the next couple of months. And then we're actually working on another one. It's more of kind of a spicy, like coffee, cayenne, Mexican chocolate type flavor.
What do you find works best when you go to, now it's ready to go to launch it? What works best to get it out and get the most sales and get the most reach?
It's going to be, for the next few launches, we're looking at more of an influencer marketing based approach, which is becoming more and more popular. But finding, I don't believe in pay to play. The influencers and brand evangelists that we use, they want some free product, which is great. I think in the world of today, you have people with million-person social media followings, and they'll honestly pitch anything for $1,000, which is just not the way we want to build our brand.
Right.
So utilizing the people who love us, just being able to give them a free carton of bars, and you would be surprised how many people are willing to they're going to put their name behind the brand because they sincerely love what they do. I don't ever want to feel like I have to pay to play. I don't want to have to pay for my best friends. I want to make sure people genuinely love the product, and if they don't, then no harm, no foul.
So who are your ideal brand ambassadors in case someone listening knows this person? Who are you looking for?
Someone, first and foremost, who lives and breathes just whole food, natural ingredients, just a foodie who really cares about what's in their body. It doesn't have to be someone who has six-pack abs, who exercises every day, but someone who believes in this very natural, whole foods, holistic lifestyle. But someone who's also like very active. We have 70-year-old grandmas who love to walk every single day, but they love our bar because for them it's just this really delicious snack. So someone who's active, who loves being outside, but who really loves whole food ingredients, whether you're an active skateboarder in your 20s or, like I said, a grandma in your 70s who just loves a rich almond butter snack. We love everyone kind of in between. Yeah.
I just looked up, Pete, and this went by really quickly. One last question for you. Just talk about, since Inspired Insider, I always ask, what's been the lowest moment and how you push through? Because you talked about resilience early on, and then what's been the proudest moment so far? So
the lowest? I feel like I've been punched in the face so many times, and even my team would say, like, it's like every few months you kind of have like a really crappy week. Sometimes you feel like it's the bipolar nature of entrepreneurship, the kind of the highs and the lows.
What's an example of being punched in the face?
I would say that the few lowest moments probably would have been, I wouldn't even say losing big accounts because we really haven't, but it's losing a key employer, realizing like, man, I've invested a year and a half, 2 years in this person, and we need to part ways. Those are always like, I'm a bit of a sensitive person, and although I like to consider myself resilient, I'm still like, human relationships mean a lot to me. Yeah. So losing like a key hire really, really sucks. Yeah. And so that's happened a few times, and those are by far, in a way, like the lowest moments that I've had. Yeah. In terms of the highest points, I think the first couple years, sure, it's exciting to get into to new accounts, or when retailers like you decide they're going to accept you. But for me, one thing I never get tired of is seeing a text message from a friend who sees my bar somewhere in a really cool location. Right. Just hearing people say, oh, yeah, I've heard of Rise Bar. Like, I love those things. The almond honey bar, 3 ingredients. I honestly never get tired of hearing that. And that kind of gives me goosebumps anytime I see someone like that, know that they've been a consumer for our bars for a long time. I love it. Yeah. Pete,
super valuable. Thank you so much. So people can go to risebar.com. Where else could they go to check out you or the company?
Yeah, risebar.com is great. Amazon.com if people prefer Amazon Prime. And then Whole Foods, Sprouts, Vitamin Shoppe. Those are by far the 3 biggest retailers. We're in roughly 2,000 retail doors. Going to add another 1,000 in the next 12 months. But far and away, risebar.com is the best place to buy us. Yeah.
Pete, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me, Jeremy. Have a good one.
Yeah.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.